It started as just another event on the university calendar, a routine debate between students on opposite ends of the political spectrum. But when word spread that Barron Trump will be stepping onto the stage to face off against one of the school's most vocal liberal activists, excitement surged across campus. Professors whispered about it in the hallways, students debated it in coffee shops, and social media exploded with speculation. Would Barron be able to hold his own? Or would he crumble under pressure? Many assumed he had been handed the opportunity due to his last name, expecting him to be unprepared or easily overwhelmed. Others, especially those who supported his family's policies, were eager to see if he would surprise everyone. As the debate day drew closer, the auditorium quickly sold out, and the atmosphere on campus became electric. Some students, determined to rattle him, even planned to mock and jeer from the audience. But Barron? He remained silent, avoiding social media drama and refusing to respond to the noise. Little did anyone know, he was preparing for something they wouldn't see coming. On the other side of campus, Jason Carter, a well-known progressive student and seasoned debater, was gearing up for what he assumed would be an easy victory. Jason had a reputation for dismantling his opponents with sharp rhetoric, quick comebacks, and impassioned speeches. He had taken down multiple conservative students before, leaving them flustered and unable to counter his points. To him, debating Barron Trump was nothing more than another chance to embarrass the son of a former president. Jason's friends hyped him up, reassuring him that Barron was just a privileged rich kid who had never worked for anything in his life. "I bet he doesn't even know the Constitution passed the First Amendment," one student laughed. "Dude, just bring up his dad, and he'll lose it," another joked. Jason smirked. He had researched Barron's past interviews and public statements and found very little, almost nothing political at all. That told him one thing: Barron wasn't ready. But what Jason didn't realize was that Barron had been studying in silence, preparing for this moment in ways no one expected. As students poured into the packed auditorium, the energy was electric. Some were there out of curiosity, others to support Jason, and a few were just eager to see how Barron Trump would handle the pressure. Barron sat calmly on stage, his tall frame relaxed, his expression unreadable. He had no entourage, no flashy introduction, just quiet confidence. Jason, on the other hand, played to the crowd, flashing a smug smile and waving dramatically before taking his seat. He was treating this like a performance, but Barron wasn't here for theatrics. He was here for the facts. The moderator, a well-respected professor, stepped forward. "Welcome, everyone, to tonight's debate. Does capitalism still work in America?" Our two debaters, Jason Carter and Barron Trump, will each have a chance to present their arguments before engaging in direct rebuttals. Jason leaned forward, ready to launch into his well-rehearsed attacks. The moderator nodded. "Jason, you have the floor." Jason smirked, adjusting his mic. "Thank you, Professor. Let's start with a simple truth. Capitalism is failing America." A few cheers erupted from the liberal-leaning audience. For decades, we've seen wealth inequality skyrocket while billionaires, like the Trump family, get richer and richer. Meanwhile, working-class Americans struggle to afford healthcare, education, and basic necessities. Capitalism has turned into a system where the rich win and the poor lose. He turned dramatically to Barron. "So tell me, Barron, how can you defend a system that benefits you at the expense of everyone else?" The crowd chuckled, sensing Jason's confidence. But Barron simply smiled. He leaned into his microphone and, for the first time, spoke. "Well, Jason," Barron said calmly, "you just made a lot of emotional statements, but let's see if they hold up to facts." A hush fell over the audience as Barron Trump leaned forward, his calm demeanor unshaken. "Jason," he began, "you just painted capitalism as the root of all inequality, but let's break that argument down piece by piece." He glanced at the crowd, making eye contact with different students. "First, let's talk about wealth inequality. You say billionaires just keep getting richer while everyone else struggles. But here's a fact. Since the rise of capitalism, global poverty has decreased by over 80%. A few murmurs spread through the crowd. Barron continued, unfazed. "Second, you claim the working class suffers under capitalism. But in the last century alone, we've seen the greatest increase in lifespan, literacy rates, and technological advancements, all driven by capitalist economies." Jason opened his mouth, but Barron raised a hand. "Let me finish," he said firmly but politely. The crowd chuckled, surprised by his confidence. "Now I get it. You don't like that people get rich. But let me ask you, do you own a smartphone?" Jason frowned, hesitating. "Yeah." Good, Barron nodded. Then you're already benefiting from capitalism. Do you think Apple, Samsung, or any tech company would exist in a socialist economy? No. Innovation thrives in competition. Without capitalism, you wouldn't have half the conveniences you take for granted today. The audience was completely silent. Jason's confident smirk had faded. Barron wasn't just defending capitalism. He was dismantling Jason's argument piece by piece. And the debate was only getting started. Jason shifted in his seat, clearly caught off guard by Barron's precise argument. He glanced at his notes and then back at the audience, trying to regain his footing. Well, Jason began, his voice slightly wavering. Capitalism might have led to technological advances, but also creates vast inequalities. The top 1% owns most of the wealth, while the working class struggles to survive. A few students nodded, but Barron simply smiled, completely unfazed. Jason, that's an emotional argument, not an economic one, Barron said smoothly. Jason's jaw tensed. You talk about the 1% like they stole their wealth. But tell me, who creates the jobs? Who funds medical research? Who builds the products and services we all use? Jason hesitated. The wealthy, Barron answered for him. Without entrepreneurs and investors, there would be no jobs, no economy, no progress. You can't punish success and expect innovation to continue. The audience murmured again. Barron wasn't just debating, he was teaching. Jason crossed his arms. So you're saying billionaires should just hoard all their money while people struggle? Barron let out a small chuckle. That's a classic misconception, he said. Most wealthy people don't hoard money, they reinvest it. They build businesses, donate to charities, and fund groundbreaking research. Elon Musk reinvests in SpaceX and Tesla. Jeff Bezos built Amazon from a garage startup to a global company that employs millions. That's economic growth. Jason opened his mouth, but Barron raised a finger. Tell me, Jason, if socialism works so well, why do socialist economies always collapse? Why do people flee from socialist countries to capitalist ones? Silence. Jason swallowed hard, realizing he had no answer. The room was completely still. Even students who had sided with Jason earlier were now leaning in, captivated. Barron's quiet confidence had completely shifted the debate in his favor. Jason was losing. Jason shifted uncomfortably, realizing the debate was slipping from his control. He needed a comeback fast. Well, he said, clearing his throat, if capitalism is so great, why do we still have poverty? Why do millions struggle to afford healthcare and education? The system is clearly broken. Some students nodded, sensing a potential turning point. But Barron remained calm. That's an oversimplification, Barron said, leaning forward slightly. Poverty isn't caused by capitalism, it's caused by a lack of economic opportunity. And which system creates more opportunity? Capitalism. Jason frowned, but Barron continued before he could interrupt. Let's take healthcare, Barron said. Countries with government-controlled healthcare have long wait times, doctor shortages, and crumbling facilities. In contrast, private healthcare systems innovate. They create new treatments, new medicines, and provide faster, higher-quality care. Jason rolled his eyes. That's easy for you to say. You probably have a private doctor. A murmur ran through the audience. Barron simply chuckled. This isn't about me, Jason. It's about facts. He turned to the crowd. Look at Canada and the UK. Patients sometimes wait months for simple procedures. In the US, despite its flaws, you can see a doctor today if you need to. That's the difference. The audience nodded. Barron wasn't just debating, he was educating. Jason gritted his teeth. He was losing control of the room. So you're saying we should let the rich get richer while people suffer? He snapped, desperation creeping into his voice. Barron shook his head, his expression almost sympathetic. Not at all. But you can't punish the successful and expect society to improve. We should create policies that encourage growth, not destroy it. Jason was silent. Barron leaned back, his work done. The professor, who remained neutral until now, cleared his throat. Well, that was certainly eye-opening. A few students chuckled. Jason looked around, realizing he had no comeback. Barron had completely dismantled his arguments. A student from Jason's side hesitated before clapping. Another joined in. Within seconds, the entire auditorium erupted in applause. Jason sighed, rubbing his forehead. Barron had destroyed him, and he knew it. As the applause thundered across the auditorium, Jason sat there, visibly frustrated. His confidence had crumbled, his arguments dismantled. But then something unexpected happened. Jason stood up and sighed. "All right," he said, his voice softer, almost reluctant. "I'll admit, you made some good points." The room fell silent. Even Barron raised an eyebrow. Was Jason conceding? Jason crossed his arms. "I still don't agree with everything, but I have to admit, you came prepared." "I respect that." Barron nodded, a small smile playing on his lips. "Likewise. It's refreshing to have a debate based on logic, rather than just emotions." A few gasps rippled through the audience. Was this turning into a civil exchange of ideas? On a college campus? Unheard of. Then a slow clap started. One student. Then another. Before long, the entire auditorium was on their feet, applauding both Barron and Jason. Jason hesitated, then extended his hand. Barron smirked but shook it firmly. A handshake, a sign of mutual respect, despite their differences. The professor, stunned, finally spoke. "Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was one of the best debates I've ever seen." As the students spilled out of the auditorium, groups of them gathered around Barron. Some were conservatives who cheered his arguments. Others were liberals who, despite their initial resistance, admitted they had never seen their views challenged so effectively. Jason, still humbled by the experience, overheard one student murmur, "Maybe I should actually start looking into the other side before I argue next time." Barron, meanwhile, remained unfazed. For him, this was just another debate, another opportunity to prove that facts and logic always win. Little did he know this debate was about to go viral. The next morning, Barron woke up to hundreds of notifications blowing up his phone. His university debate had been recorded and uploaded online. Now it was everywhere. Trending on Twitter. Small Blue Diamond, Barron Trump School's liberal student, pure logic versus emotion. Small Blue Diamond, did Barron just destroy campus wokeness? Small Blue Diamond, hashtag Barron versus Jason debate, a masterclass in argumentation. Even political commentators started reacting to the debate. Some praised Barron for his composure and well-researched arguments. Others, mainly liberal commentators, called it a misleading debate, but that only made more people watch the video. Within 24 hours, the clip had racked up millions of views. Jason, who had initially thought of Barron as just another conservative kid with a famous last name, was now feeling the weight of his loss. His friends kept sending him memes. Some were supportive, telling him he held his own. Others, not so much. Then his inbox lit up. It was an email from a major left-wing media outlet. Subject, "Let's set the record straight, exclusive interview offer." They wanted Jason to do a follow-up interview and clarify what happened in the debate. They were practically begging him to spin the story. Jason hesitated. Did he really want to go down that road? Meanwhile, Barron's phone buzzed. It was a call from an unknown number. "Barron, it's Dad." Donald Trump's voice was unmistakable. "I saw the debate," he said. "You crushed it." Barron chuckled. "Appreciate that. We should talk," Trump continued. "I think you might have a future in this." Barron raised an eyebrow. A future in what exactly? Trump didn't answer right away, but Barron could almost hear him smirking on the other end. "You'll see soon enough," he said. News outlets were now dissecting the debate. Conservative commentators hailed Barron as a rising voice in politics. Even some independent media outlets were saying he might be the future of conservative youth. His classmates? Some were thrilled. Some were furious. Professors were now trying to spin the narrative, claiming Jason wasn't fully prepared or that the debate lacked proper structure. But it was too late. The world had already decided. Barron Trump had just entered the political spotlight, and it looked like he wasn't going anywhere.